YouTube, what's going on? We got some Chaos versus Clan Angrund here, the Black Gobbo in control of Chaos. I like that he's got some of the aspiring champions coming up against Clan Angrund because we've seen that their magical attacks can be quite helpful against ethereal heroes. He's got one standard Thane here, though, which is interesting. Two standard Thanes. The only ethereal hero is the Throny Ironbrow, and then he's got a Rune Lord here on the anvil. Already 2 kills on the cannon here, which is firing away. Dwarf cannons are actually pretty decent if used properly in the right scenarios, and they're actually okay against infantry as well if they get the right shots. Let's see, we got 2 Rangers, main line of Dwarf Warriors with great weapons. Pretty weak main line, but it is supported by quite a few heroes, and the Dwarfs can hold out for a long time. A couple of Slayers holding the flanks. That'll be handy. These Warhounds would get wrecked by Slayers, and if the Slayers can get a hold of the Feral Manticores, they'll do really well too. So what are Slayers good against, by the way? People ask me about Slayers. They're pretty expensive. Really, the main drawback for Slayers is they have no armor-piercing damage. It'd kind of be cool if they added a little more to them. Slayers are a lot better than they were originally in the game, but Slayers, what they're good at is anti-large, and particularly against large targets who do not have a lot of armor, like these Feral Manticores. They will do pretty well. But they are still vulnerable to charges, and that's one of their problems. And like I said, they have no armor piercing, so even if they get into a fight with an anti-large bonus versus cavalry, they still struggle sometimes because they have to eat away at the armor on the cavalry, and most heavy cavalry is high armor. Warhound's going to be chased off by the Dwarf Warriors here. Looks like the Warhound's trying desperately to get the cannon. They're going to potentially get it here, too. They may not be able to kill it, though, because there's so many enemy units around. But a nice play for the cannon here, sacrificing a Warhound to potentially get the cannon. But I don't think the Warhounds are going to do it. Their leadership is just so awful. They're not worth their price, to be honest. I mean, their price dropped, but they're still not worth their price, hardly. Depends on who you're coming up against. Against the Dwarfs, I would say they're not worth their price, because they can't even kill the Dwarf skirmishers if they get in to a fight with them. Blasting charges being thrown at the Marauders with great weapons. Marauders with great weapons will be a way to kind of help pull down the Dwarf Warriors with great weapons a little bit cheaper. Aspiring champions coming in as support behind the Marauders. I like that pick because it helps the morale of the otherwise pretty crappy Marauders. And here comes the Feral Manticore. Charging into the Runesmith, probably not the most worthwhile target, because they won't do anything to him. Probably better off to try and go for the Rune Lord. Here comes a Chaos Knight with lances from the flank, and it's charged right into Slayers. It is supported by Forsaken, though, so these Slayers are in big trouble. And a Chaos Warrior with great weapons swinging in. Another Forsaken. I like the Forsaken working in from the flanks. They're a good unit to help draw down Slayers, because Slayers aren't going to like fighting a unit like Forsaken. So pretty nice engagement so far for Chaos, but the Dwarfs are holding, and the Feral Manticores are getting chewed up here. The blasting charge is just going absolutely hog wild there. Chaos Knight with lances also got wrecked on pretty hard by the Slayers. Slayers have 57 kills over here. Let's see, the Rune Lord is fighting up against Archaeon the Ever-Chosen. This is pretty sweet to see Archaeon brought to a battle. Plus he has access to the Lore of Fire if needed. Look at that Anvil of Doom get punched around. So you got Archaeon and 2 Manticores going after the Rune Lord. Good choice. The Rune Lord provides a ton of extra protection for a Dwarf army, but it is not an easy target to crack. Archaeon could theoretically do it over time. Forsaken over here did great, supported by these Chaos Warriors, the 2 of them racking up nice kills. The Knights with lances still alive. Gonna get some nice rear charges here, but unfortunately with the Runesmiths around again, it's gonna slow down the damage that the Dwarfs take, and then the Slayers are right there. So even though the Chaos Knights have high armor, they're going to take a decent amount of damage to the Slayers. A lot of the Dwarf infantry in the front line being pushed away, which is great for Chaos, but there's still a lot of Dwarf army left here. You can see the power bar actually even favors the Dwarfs a little bit. Cannons got pushed out. That's never a bad thing. Feral Manticore has routed. I think, yeah, both Feral Manticores have routed. So Chaos is going to be reliant on Archaeon at this point. He's using the Cascading Fire Cloak and the Flaming Sword of Ruin, and you can see kind of the overall brawl here. The Marauders with great weapons, some of them being pretty helpful. Again, the Aspiring Champions are a great way to support, and honestly, if these Aspiring Champions could somehow cut through to this Runesmith, they will wreck him. but it's not going to be easy. It almost would have been cool to see these Marauders with great weapons brought into this fight. Yeah, Archaeon does have magical attacks, so great play here. Archaeon has the potential, but he's running away from this hero squad, and he should. Archaeon's very, very tough, especially for considering that he's also kind of a caster, but he can't stand up to 3 dwarf heroes like that. I'd like to see Archaeon continue to try and focus down Thrawny Ironbrowed, though. He is pushing him around right now. If he can get him away from these other dwarf heroes and do some damage, that would be great for Archaeon. I don't know if Archaeon has a fireball. He does not. But yeah, he's doing some spectacular damage now. Yeah, look at that. Archaeon, magical attacks, just like we talked about in that video. Absolutely the way to wreck a dwarf hero like this. And I wonder if the dwarf player brought Thanes on purpose to try and keep them away from the aspiring champions, because in this case it's going to end up being a smart move, because otherwise these aspiring champions would be wrecking this Thane, but they're not doing that great now. Looks like Archaeon's going to come over and try and beat down the Rune Lord, and he should be able to do that. The Rune Lord doesn't have very great attack. He's more of a support unit. Chaos down to these warriors with great weapons. They're fighting off a Thane. Feral Manticore being used to hit units that are regrouping. I kind of like that. Just keep some of the dwarf units off the battlefield. Archaeon putting a beating down on the Rune Lord, but there's dwarf warriors with great weapons, and Archaeon's definitely, he's still fighting. Cascading Fire Cloak is really going to help him out. It looks like he's going to take out the Rune Lord. This is a pretty close fight. The dwarf cannons came back and were able to remount their artillery. Really? The Manticore should have seen this. If these guys get shots, they could do a ton of damage to Archaeon. And he is like lined up right in front of that cannon. Archaeon is alive. The Rune Lord's barely alive also. If Archaeon can take out that Rune Lord, it's going to be a big help for the forces of Chaos. But again, this cannon, if it gets a shot or two, these Chaos Knights right now, go for the cannon, man. Go for the cannon. Yeah, he's going for the cannon. That'll keep Archaeon alive. Sorry, I'm not necessarily rooting for the Chaos player. It's just like I see something like that and I'm like, do it, get the cannon before it picks off your leader. So Archaeon's going to be very tough. I'm killing 2 Thanes, though, that definitely have healing potions. The question is whether or not they've used them. That's not going to be easy, but taking out the Rune Lord here, the Ethereal Runesmith is dead, so a considerable amount of support for the dwarf unit should be gone. Holding on to these Knights with Lances a little bit longer to run off routing dwarf units could be very nice. The 2 Manticores still around, and their charges against the Thanes could be very helpful. And Archaeon is definitely going to have to rely on hit and run here to take down these Thanes. And then the Knights with Lances going after some of these routing units, but they're going to die here now. There's only 2 of them. I almost think maybe the Manticores could rout away some of this stuff with the help of these Marauders with great weapons. Archaeon pushing away some Miners. Yeah, there comes the charge from the Manticores onto the Thanes. Like I said, probably should have just used the Manticores to get rid of some of these infantry, because 1 or 2 hits from the Thane and the Manticores are going to be gone, and then that really hits the power bar hard. Archaeon's going to leave these Miners with blasting charges alone and kind of come on back to the fight. Like I said, the work's going to be cut out for him here. Aspiring Champions coming back in. If this had been an Ethereal Thane, this would have been very bad. So like I said, I have to wonder whether or not this was a purposeful pick on the part of the Dwarf. It may well have been. Nice charge from the Manticore. Gonna help out the Aspiring Champions. But the Potion of Healing has been popped on the Dwarf Thane. And that's gonna be rough for Chaos. Having a fully healed, or close to fully healed, Thane is gonna be bad news. Yeah, he's in good shape. Potion of Foolhardiness too, so that this Dwarf player came prepared. They came prepared indeed. I don't know if Archaeon can tank this one out, especially if this other Thane has a healing potion. It's going to be a very tight battle, but I'm kind of feeling like the Dwarfs have an advantage here. But let's see how well Archaeon is used. Cascading Fire Cloak. Archaeon's trying to charge, but sometimes when you try and charge a unit that close, it doesn't connect real well. When Archaeon lands a charge, it should be pretty devastating. And right now the Thane isn't facing him. We're going to see whether or not this guy had a healing potion. Feral Manticore came back in to dish a little more damage, but Slowly, Archaeon's becoming the only viable unit left in here for Chaos. Aspiring Champions, though, staying in the fight this long was certainly helpful. It's looking a little bit grim for Chaos, in my opinion. But we will see. Nice charge here from Archaeon. Going to hit the Thane, deal some considerable damage. He certainly isn't going to want to get piled up on by 2 Thanes and infantry, but we'll see. Archaeon is a pretty powerful unit. He has magical attacks, and he deals a lot of armor-piercing damage and heavy damage in general. Marauders with great weapons are going to rout shortly, but 60 kills on them really isn't bad, especially against the Dwarfs. Nice charge by Archaeon there. Archaeon's going to escape with little damage to himself, and if he can cycle enough, he very well could pull this off. The Dwarf's going to want to use these miners with blasting charges as a meat shield, same with the warriors with great weapons. Those meat shields could keep Archaeon back. Let's see if he gets away from the Thanes. Yeah, he gets away without being hit. Aspiring Champions regrouped back here. That could be a huge benefit for Chaos. Archaeon's going to continue to cycle, using his speed and using his mount. What's his target here? Looks like he's charging this Slayer. Oh, probably not a bad idea. And he killed them too, because the Slayers have a bonus versus large. So the Aspiring Champion's going to be used to tank out some of the damage from the Dwarfs while Archaeon swoops in. And he's going to get a clean charge on that Thane. The Thane didn't get a hit on him in return either, so right now Archaeon's getting a ton of damage done. And the Aspiring Champion's in a standard die, so they'll stay in that fight a little bit longer too. Very nice charges from Archaeon. He still hasn't been hit by one of the Thanes. So he still hasn't been hit by one of the Thanes in a long time. And I don't know if this Thane has a healing potion or not. He finally took a hit there, and it was a pretty good hit. Lost a couple hundred hit points. The Thanes do decent damage. They're not spectacular, but for a hero, they're pretty good. Ooh, Thane landed potentially another hit, though. It looks like Archaeon dodged it. These Aspiring Champions coming back was a huge benefit. There's only 2 of them, but it keeps the Thanes busy and really helps Archaeon get charges off. Miners with blasting charges are going to shatter, but the Aspiring Champions are about to shatter too, I think. Nice charge from Archaeon once again. He hasn't taken any additional damage yet, and he has 1 Thane wavering, so he very well could pull this off. Let's watch Archaeon as he keeps rolling back around. Another sweet hit on the Thane. Almost enough to kill it. It has routed, though, which means he can chase it down. It looks like this guy's going to keep his other Thane close to the routing unit, at least for the moment. That's probably a solid choice. Nice charge from Archaeon once again. No return damage. And then if he gets the charge on this Thane, it should kill it. And that should help the power bar a little bit in the favor of Chaos. Oh, down to 1 hit point. Okay, there it goes. It's like, what kind of sick joke is that? So it's about 50-50 on the power bar, and I think it's because if Archaeon just sits in combat, the Thane might win. But there's no reason for him to sit in combat at this point. He can easily turn around and charge. Thane's using Deadly Onslaught too, so he's just waiting for it to wear off, and why not at this point? The Thane can't catch you. So good decision by the Chaos player here. This is down to 1-on-1 to decide the winner of the battle. The Thane gets his face splayed right there, but Archaeon takes a return hit there, and he's down to 694. This is going to be wildly close. This reminds me of that Medieval 2 Total War battle that I played a long time ago, where it came down to a 1-on-1 between a spearman and a knight, and they killed each other at the last second. That was absolutely redonkulous. So Archaeon in with another charge, staggers the Dwarf. He still hasn't taken another hit. The Dwarf is losing. I want to say that I think that Archaeon would take this, because I don't think the Dwarf's going to likely get a whole lot of hits in here because of the charging of Archaeon, but we'll see. You never know what's going to happen. There's only 30 seconds left. Ooh, a glancing blow there. Archaeon takes a shot, though, and drops another 194 hit points. So it's down to 500 hit points on Archaeon and 689 on the Dwarf. The Dwarf, though, is wavering. Archaeon is not. Oh, that's going to do it. That was really close. Nice win. Cool to see Archaeon used successfully there, and really a nice use of him against that Thrawny Ironbrow, too. Shut that guy down when he could have been a very useful unit, and the magical attacks from Archaeon well used there. Nice performance from the Slayers on the flanks, also really kind of like, or not the Slayers, the Forsaken, coming in to help try and deal with the Slayers. I think Forsaken are a great flanking unit, typically when fighting against the Dwarfs. If they can get into some of the softer stuff, they can be extremely effective, because the Dwarfs usually put some of their main strength on the main line. And then supporting these cheap Marauders with the Aspiring Champions was a way to save him some money, obviously, to get a hold of a couple of these Manticores and the Chaos Knights with Lances. Decent performance from the Knights with Lances as well. Nice game to both players. Really enjoyed that one from the Black Gobbo. Appreciate him sending it in. Hope you all enjoyed this one. You're fantastic viewers. Just like to try and thank you all in every video for showing up and watching this, liking, thanking those who support me on Patreon. Appreciate MSI for the support on the computer. They sent me the motherboard and the computer that I'm recording this with. I appreciate all of you. I love doing this, and I can't wait to see you all back soon. HeirofCarthage, signing out.